Hello, my fellow minor league nerds, and welcome to our newest Mostly Forgotten Teams episode. This episode covers the Wichita Aeros, who played in the AAA American Association from 1970 to 1984. The Wichita Aeros, like a bow and arrow? Oh no, arrows as in the aerospace industry. This episode continues our series of honoring fellow Curved Rim Media members and honors Eric Profit from the Earned Fun Average. Wichita has a long history of professional baseball, with the first team appearing in the Kansas State League in 1887. That team was so dominant in the league that they ended up switching over to the Western League in July. Things didn't go so well in the Western League, with the team losing money, not returning in 1888. Professional baseball did not return again until 1898, with another team playing in the Kansas State League for just that one season. From 1905 to 1908, the city was represented by the Wichita Jobbers in the Class C Western Association, seeing them winning the league pennant in 1905 and 1907. For the 1909 season, the team moved over to the Class B Western League, where they played through the 1933 season, playing under the names the Jobbers, the Witches, the Izzies, the Larks, the Aviators, and the Oilers. They won the league pennant in 1918, 1921, and 1930. Wichita was also the site of the game played between the all-black Wichita Monrovians and the Ku Klux Klan in 1925, which we covered on a Minor League Nerd special episode that you should check out if you haven't already. Wichita has also been home to the semi-pro National Baseball Congress World Series since 1935. In 1950, the Wichita Indians joined the now Class A Western League, playing through the 1955 season. They made it to the league championship that first season, falling to the Sioux City Sioux 3-1, and then won the league championship in 1955, sweeping the Des Moines Bruins in 3 games. They folded following that season to make room for the relocating Toledo Sox of the AAA American Association. They began as the Milwaukee Brewers, leaving the city before the start of the 1953 season to make room for the National League Boston Braves, who moved to the beer capital of the world. The Sox only spent 3 seasons in Toledo before moving to Wichita, where they were renamed the Braves, staying through the 1958 season. They won the league pennant in 1957 after finishing in first place. They finished second in 1958, being knocked out of playoffs in the first round both seasons. Before the start of the 1959 season, the Braves relocated to Fort Worth, where they became the AAA version of the Fort Worth Cats, leaving Wichita without a professional team for over a decade. You can learn more about the history of the Milwaukee Brewers, the Wichita Braves, and the AAA Fort Worth Cats on our Mostly Forgotten Teams episode that covers the Brewers' history. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already. With Major League Baseball expanding by 4 teams for the 1969 season, it was decided to resurrect the AAA American Association, which disbanded following the 1962 season. The league began with 6 teams, with the intention of adding 2 more for the 1970 season. One of those new teams was the Evansville Triplets, who we covered in a franchise history series episode. The other franchise was awarded to Wichita, Kansas, with the team being officially announced on October 31st, 1969. They affiliated with the Cleveland Indians and would play their home games at Lawrence Stadium, which was renamed Lawrence Dumont Stadium in 1978. The team was brought to Wichita due to the efforts of 17 local civic-minded sports enthusiasts under the banner Wichita Professional Baseball Incorporated. A Name the Team contest was held, with the winning name, the Wichita Aeros, being announced on November 29th. The name was selected from over 5,000 entrants. Janet Porter of Newton, Kansas, was one of 54 people who submitted the Aeros names. She was selected as the winner of the contest, being awarded $500 and 2 season tickets for the 1970 season. Former Major Leaguer and future Cleveland Indians manager Ken Aspromonte was appointed the Aeros' first manager. They played their first game on Friday, April 17th, defeating the Tulsa Oilers 2-1 in front of 6,023 fans on a cold and chilly night at Lawrence Stadium. The second game in the series on the 18th was postponed due to rain. Despite starting their season off with a victory, that first season was a disappointment on the field for the Aeros. They finished in last place in the 4-team West Division with a 67-73 record. Despite the poor play, they led the league in attendance with 256,824, drawing over 60,000 more than the second-place team, the Omaha Royals. Future Major Leaguer Chris Chambliss led the team with a .342 average and 14 stolen bases. Richie Scheinblum led the team with 24 homers and 84 RBIs. Their pitching staff included future Major Leaguers Ed Farmer and Dick Tidrow. The 1971 season wasn't much better, seeing them finish 66-74, with their attendance increasing to 280,320, the third most in the league. Dick Tidrow returned, going 8-6 with a 4.14 ERA in 124 innings pitched, leading the team with 81 strikeouts. Chambliss returned for 13 games, hitting .286 with 2 homers and 6 RBIs before being promoted to Cleveland. 19-year-old Buddy Bell played his final minor league season with the Aeros that year, hitting .289 with 11 homers and 59 RBIs. A highlight that season was a no-hitter thrown by Rich Hand in a 3-0 victory over the Oilers in Tulsa. He also led the team with a 1.88 ERA and 11 starts, with the Aeros seeing him split time between Wichita and Cleveland that season. 1972 was the Aeros' best season. They teamed up with the Chicago Cubs in a relationship that would last through the 1980 season. Former Major Leaguer Jim Marshall was hired to manage the team, staying for 2 seasons. They won the West Division, finishing with an 87-53 record, the best in the league, finishing 9 games up on the Tulsa Oilers. They also led the league in attendance, drawing 276,451, and led the league in team hitting with a .266 average. In the championship series, though, they fell in 3 straight games to the Evansville Triplets, losing the first 2 games in Evansville, 6-3 and 1-0, and then lost the series at home, falling 11-5 in Game 3. First baseman Pat Bork was named the league MVP, hitting .279 with 20 homers and 87 RBIs in 119 games. Right-hander Joe Decker went 12-7 with 170 strikeouts and a 2.26 ERA in 179 innings pitched. Other top performers for the team included Cleo James, who hit .281 with 60 RBIs while leading the team with 39 stolen bases in 132 games. Shortstop Dave Rosello hit .271 in 137 games. Left-hander Larry Gura went 11-4 with 109 strikeouts in 130 innings, and Bill Bonham finished 10-4 with 116 strikeouts in 125 innings pitched. Rick Russell appeared in 12 games for the Aeros before being called up by the Cubs, making his major league debut on June 19th. They led the league once again in team hitting in 1973. Pat Bork hit .347 with 42 RBIs, scoring 36 runs in only 35 games. Dave Rosello hit .313. Tony La Russa hit .314 with 75 RBIs, and Matt Alexander hit .309. They finished second in the West Division, 1 game behind the Tulsa Oilers, and 1 game under 500, with a 67-68 record. Once again, they led the league in attendance with 203,791. 1974 saw another second-place finish with another 67-68 record under manager Mike Rourke, who returned in 1975. Pete Lecoq hit .327 with 23 home runs and 91 RBIs on his way to being named league MVP. Outfielder Adrian Garrett led the league with 26 homers, while driving in 83 in 92 games. Their attendance dropped that year to 185,482. This began a trend of their attendance falling for the rest of the decade, bottoming out in 1979 when only 92,611 fans came to support the team. They weren't given much to cheer for, as the Aeros finished almost every season with a losing record. There were some highlights, though. In 1976, Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter appeared in 7 games for the Aeros, going 2-1 with a 1.5 ERA in 12 innings pitched. In 1977, Jim Dwyer won the American Association batting title when he hit .332 with 18 home runs and 70 RBIs. First baseman and outfielder Scott Thompson hit .305. This was the first season they finished above 500 since their division championship in 1972, ending the season with a 68-64 record. Despite a third-place finish, they were only 1 game behind the division-winning Denver Bears, who finished a half game up on the Oklahoma City 89ers. Scott Thompson had another great season in 1978, leading the team with a .326 average in 135 games. He made his debut with the Chicago Cubs on September 3rd, having a pretty good day. He came through with a game-winning pinch hit single in the 7th in the first game of a doubleheader, and got his second MLB career RBI in the second game, delivering with a single in the 6th inning, helping the Cubs sweep the Astros. In 1979, Carl Pagel was voted MVP of the American Association after hitting .316, leading the league in home runs with 39 and RBIs when he drove in 123. Things didn't get much better for the Aeros in the new decade. 1980 saw another last-place finish, where they went 61-74. Though their attendance did increase from a franchise low in 1979 to 101,108 in 1980. Robert Madden and Mark Lemongello threw a combined no-hitter against the Iowa Oaks on August 17th, with the Aeros winning the game 5-2. Hall of Famer Lee Smith appeared in 50 games for the Aeros that year, before being called up by the Cubs at the start of September. For the 1981 season, they switched affiliation to the Texas Rangers, in a relationship that only lasted that season. And it was another disappointment that saw a 65-70 last-place finish. For the second season in a row, though, their attendance increased to 122,371. There was a bright spot, with Mike Richart winning the league batting title when he hit .354. He was actually the first of 3 consecutive batting champions for the Aeros. Roy Johnson won it in 1982, the Aeros' first of 2 seasons being affiliated with the Montreal Expos, when he hit .367. Mike Stenhouse won it in 1983, when he hit .355. He also hit 25 homers, 33 doubles, and had 93 RBIs on his way to being named the league MVP. This was the second year in a row a Wichita player was awarded MVP. Ken Phelps won the award in 1982 when he knocked out 46 and drove in 141 and finished 3rd in the league with a .333 batting average. The award stayed in Wichita in 1984 when Alan Nicely won it after he finished 2nd in the league with a .333 average and led the league with 190 hits and 126 RBIs. He finished 2nd with 33 home runs and hit 29 doubles. During the Aeros' 2-year affiliation with Montreal, they were managed by Felipe Alou. 1984 was the last season for the Wichita Aeros, seeing them affiliate with the Cincinnati Reds. They finished the season with only their 4th winning record in their 15-year history, going 78-76, tying the Louisville Redbirds for 4th place, with the American Association using a single table that season. This led to a 1-game playoff between the 2 teams, which was played in Louisville. Going into the last weekend of the season, the Aeros were in 2nd place, a game and a half up on Iowa, 2 games up on Louisville, and 3 games up on Denver, who they were hosting in a 4-game series to close out the season. They only had to win 1 game to clinch the 2nd playoff appearance in their history. They went on to lose all 4 games. In the 1-game playoff, they were blanked 3-0 by the Redbirds, with Louisville's starter Rick Ownby striking out 11 Aeros, including league MVP Alan Nicely 3 times. In that final season, future major leaguer Tom Browning led the league with 160 strikeouts and finished third with 12 victories. He also threw a 7-inning no-hitter against the Iowa Cubs on July 31st, winning the game 2-0. Eric Davis appeared in 52 games for the Aeros that season, hitting .314, scoring 42 runs, 14 homers, with 34 RBIs before making his major league debut with the Reds on May 19th. Their attendance increased once again to 137,018, their most since 1978, when they drew just under 151,000, but it was the second lowest in the league. By that time, the team's ownership had whittled down from the original 17 to just Milton Glickman, who continued to own the team as a matter of civic pride, despite losing money every season. Unable to sustain the losses any longer, he sold the team to Bob Rich Jr. in September for around $1 million, which was enough to cover his accumulated losses since 1976. Glickman had passed on several attempts to sell the team in previous seasons. Rich, who at the time owned the Buffalo Bisons of the AA Eastern League, moved the Aeros to Buffalo to become the AAA version of the Bisons, where they still play today. The AA Bisons were moved to Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where they became the Pittsfield Cubs. After 2 more moves and a name change, today they are the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. Though the Aeros weren't the most successful team on the field, they did have some dedicated superfans. One was Helen Nichols, who attended her first ballgame around the turn of the century. She was devoted to Wichita's teams as early as 1914. She attended as many games as she could, often alone, having lost her husband in 1964 and having children who weren't baseball fans. While attending Aeros games, she would sit in the same place behind home plate at Lawrence Dumont Stadium so she could see the whole field. She passed away in 1988 at the age of 93. Another was Christina Forster, who attended 951 Aeros games, sitting in the same seats since 1970. She was nicknamed the Bell Lady because she never hesitated to ring the large-handled bell she brought to every game. Starting in 1976, the team introduced Captain Aero as the team's mascot. He was portrayed by Bill Talbot, who wore a Flyers cap, goggles, and a flowing scarf. Captain Aero was retired following the 1978 season, but was revived in 1983, being played by Tom Fry. In 1987, after 2 seasons without professional baseball, the Beaumont Golden Gators of the Texas League relocated to Wichita, becoming the Wichita Pilots. After 2 seasons under that name, they were renamed the Wichita Wranglers. They made it to the Texas League Championship Series 8 times, winning it in 1987, 1992, and 1999. Following the 2007 season, they moved to Springdale, Arkansas, becoming the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. Wichita would not go a season without Pro Ball, as the city was awarded one of 2 expansion franchises in the 2-season-old Independent American Association of Professional Baseball. The team was named the Wingnuts and won the league championship in 2014. Following the 2018 season, the city of Wichita paid the team $2.2 million to break their lease, so Lawrence Dumont Stadium could be torn down and a new ballpark could be built in the same location for the relocating New Orleans Baby Cakes of the AAA Pacific Coast League. The relocated team was named the Wichita Wind Surge. The new ballpark was renamed Riverfront Stadium and is now known as Equity Bank Park. It was completed in time for the 2020 season, which was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With MLB's takeover and reorganization of minor league baseball, the Wind Surge were moved down to the AA Texas League. They made it to the League Championship Series in 2021 and 2022, losing both to the Northwest Arkansas Naturals and the Frisco Rough Riders. Well, my fellow minor league nerds, that'll do it for this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or the podcast platform of your choice to be notified whenever a new episode is released. Thanks for nerding out with me, and as always, stay safe and be sure to never stop supporting minor league baseball and never stop learning about minor league baseball history. First baseman Pat. I almost said Paul. I was just so pork. I was going to try and call him Pork.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Data Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum.
And we are the Earn Fun Average podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick and Corey of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.